single mom discovers an incredible truth: her billionaire ex is the doctor delivering her baby. Emily's heart raced as she shuffled through the familiar halls of Maplewood Hospital, each step heavier than the last. Today was the day. She could feel it in her bones. The weight of her past lingered like shadows in the corners of her mind. A nurse passed by her, flashing a warm smile that sparked a flicker of hope, a reminder that she wasn't alone in this journey. Emily touched her rounded belly, feeling a gentle flutter, a promise of new beginnings. She had faced sleepless nights and endless worry. As a single mother in her early 30s, Emily juggled countless shifts at the local diner and cleaned houses in the neighborhood, all while keeping a brave face. The community was tightly knit, each neighbor watching out for her, offering emotional and physical support. Gifts were often left on her doorstep, casseroles to fill the fridge, and toys for the baby eagerly awaited. But just when joy filled the air, nostalgic memories surged back, bitter reminders of Nathan, her ex-fiancé, once struggling and now a billionaire doctor. Scanning the local paper that morning, her heart dropped at the sight of Nathan's name splashed across the page, a story of triumph from rags to riches. Feelings of anger and longing twisted in her gut. Why hadn't he reached out? Despite his new life of privilege, Emily couldn't shake the memory of supporting him when things had been difficult. She had believed in their shared dreams, only to watch him drift into a world that felt alien, a world where love seemed to come at a price. As the hours dragged on, she felt a mix of excitement and dread rise within her. The weight of societal judgment hovered, as if the world was silently questioning her abilities as a single mother. When her contractions began, sharp and insistent, she grasped the hospital bed to steady herself. Every wave of pain ignited fears of inadequacy. Could she do this alone? Just as she began to settle herself, the door swung open. Dressed in scrubs, Nathan stepped inside, the confident smile she once loved stretched across his face. Time seemed to freeze as their eyes met, a torrent of memories flooding back. Laughter, romance, shattered dreams all swirled in the air, thick with unresolved tension. Anxiety clawed at her throat. Could they openly confront the past? Before Emily could gather her thoughts, a sudden crisis erupted. Monitors beeped frantically as the atmosphere shifted from calm to chaos. Nurses rushed in, urgency pouring from their voices. Emily's heart raced as she grasped Nathan's eyes desperately, the bond they used to share bubbling beneath layers of hurt. In a flash, they were forced to reassess everything: the stark realities of class disparity, memories of simpler times, the lost paths they traveled. Would they let the walls they've built keep them captive, or could they tear them down together? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when they thought they had a chance at understanding, the situation escalated, rattling both heart and hope. Emily lay on the bed, fear course in her veins as Nathan rushed to make decisions, pulling them deeper into a critical moment. Emotions surged like a tide, uncertainty loomed, and they were left grasping for the connection that had once defined their love. Would they mend what had been broken, or would fear drive them apart forever? The chaos erupted around Emily, nurses frantically murmuring commands, and the sounds of beeping monitors creating a heart-pounding symphony of tension. She instinctively reached for Nathan's hand, needing that familiar warmth, that one thing that could anchor her in this sea of uncertainty. His fingers intertwined with hers, and for an electric moment, everything else faded away. "Stay with me, Emily," Nathan urged, his voice steady yet filled with urgency. "We're going to get through this." She nodded, but the fear gnawing at her insides was relentless. With each contraction came a new wave of anxiety. What if something went wrong? Could she really do this alone? But, in the depths of her worry, a flicker of hope ignited. Maybe, just maybe, this was a chance for something more, a chance to redefine their story. As the chaos continued, Nathan wove through the rush of medical staff, calling out instructions with the authority of someone who had risen through the ranks. Emily watched him, a whirl of admiration and pain flooding her heart. The man who had once doubted himself was now a beacon of confidence. It was a stark contrast to the boy she had fallen in love with in college, battling insecurities and fears that now felt like ghosts. Then, he turned back to her, eyes locked on hers, as if no one else in the world existed. "You're doing amazing. Just breathe. We're almost there." With each breath, she tried to push aside the shadows of their past, the arguments, the regrets, the unanswered questions. Instead, she focused on the rhythm of her heartbeat and his, as they resonated together. In that moment, she sensed something shifting. The love they once shared began to negotiate a return through the cracks of their broken relationship. The room shifted again, and Emily found herself at the edge of everything she had prepared for. She was terrified yet exhilarated, knowing the path ahead would forever change not only her but Nathan too. And for the first time, she couldn't just see him as her ex-fiancé. She began to recognize him as the father of her child. With a resolve she hadn't realized she possessed, she squeezed his hand tightly. "Nathan, I never wanted this to end, us." He swallowed hard, a storm of emotions flickering through his eyes. I know, he whispered, his voice breaking. "I've missed you every day." The weight of his admission settled between them, almost tangible. In that moment, they were two people, not just defined by their past, but by hope for forgiveness, for a future. Just then, a new wave of contractions washed over her, stronger than the last. The medical staff continued to bustle around, but Nathan focused solely on her. "Okay, Emily, it's time. Just like we practiced. One deep breath and push. I'm right here." Tears brimmed in her eyes as the reality of the moment settled in. It was time to face the truth, both the fears of motherhood and the possibility of rebuilding something beautiful with Nathan. Together, they could figure out a path that made room for their child and possibly a relationship reborn from the ashes of their past. She took a deep breath and felt her body responding to his encouragement. Each push brought her child closer, yet in the depths of her heart, she wondered what would become of them after this day. Would rekindling their love be a part of their future? Or was this merely a momentary bridge before settling back into old patterns? With one final push, a cry filled the air, piercing the chaos like a ray of sunlight breaking through clouds. Their baby was here. Nathan's eyes widened with joy and disbelief, flooding Emily with warmth she didn't know she craved. But even amid this incredible moment, doubt remained. Could they face what lay ahead together? As the nurse handed their baby to Emily, Nathan's expression shifted, a tenderness playing on his face. Was it possible that through this shared joy, they could rebuild their broken dreams? Before she could voice the thought, Nathan leaned closer, eyes glistening, and whispered, "We need to talk, Emily. There's so much more to say." And just like that, the unanswered questions loomed once again, as they prepared to navigate a new chapter of their lives, one filled with hope and uncertainty. What truths would surface as they began to explore this unexpected journey together? The room filled with the sweet, yet urgent cries of their newborn, echoing in Emily's ears. It was a sound that seemed to shift the very foundation of everything she thought she knew. The nurse gently placed their baby, wrapped in a soft blanket, against Emily's chest. It was a tiny bundle of life, the manifestation of everything they had once dreamed about together. "Look at her," Nathan marveled, his voice barely above a whisper. He leaned closer, his breath warm against Emily's cheek. "She's perfect." As she gazed down at the tiny face, her heart swelled with a love so profound it nearly took her breath away. Yet, buried beneath that joy was an avalanche of uncertainty. Would this moment carry them toward healing, or lead them back to the pain they had worked so hard to escape? Minutes passed, filled with the soft coos and gentle fussing of their baby. Emily felt an overwhelming urge to hold Nathan's hand again, to anchor herself in this moment, but fear kept her at bay. What if their past loomed so heavily over them that they could never move forward? Nathan seemed to sense her hesitation. "Emily, about what I said earlier," he began, his voice steady yet soft, trying to bridge the chasm that had formed between them once more. "I know we have a lot to talk about," she interrupted, her voice shaking slightly. "But can we just breathe for a moment? Can we just enjoy this?" She nodded toward the baby. He nodded, a small smile breaking through the tension. Of course. She is our priority. Emily soaked in the sight of Nathan with their daughter cradled in his arms, a sight she had longed to witness. Tears began to form in her eyes again as she watched him marvel at their tiny girl, every feature tracing the outline of Nathan's profile. In the dim light of the room, it started to feel surreal, as if they were frozen in time, wrapped in a blanket of new beginnings, but the urgency of their conversation nudged at her mind. She had questions swirling in her heart, ones she was afraid to ask. What did his "we need to talk" really mean? Was Nathan determined to rekindle their relationship, or was he simply drawn to fatherhood out of obligation? Suddenly, the door swung open. A resident doctor, clipboard in hand, stepped inside. "How's everyone doing?" he asked, an upbeat melody amidst the exhaustion in the room. Nathan straightened, eyes alert. "We're doing well. Emily just gave birth." His pride was palpable, lighting up the dim atmosphere. "Congratulations. I hear you're both new to this," the doctor said with a kind smile, glancing between them. "You'll figure it out. You always do." Emily couldn't help but smile back, but the thought weighed heavily on her heart. Would they figure it out together, or as individuals running parallel to each other? After the doctor concluded the routine checks, Nathan turned to Emily once more. "How do you feel about a name? Have you thought about it?" For a fleeting moment, her worries melted away. A name represented hope, a future. "I had some ideas," she said hesitantly. "But I'd love to hear your thoughts." The truth was, sharing this moment left a warmth within her, a flicker of intimacy that had long been buried beneath layers of hurt and resentment. Here they were, searching for a way to share not just a child but potentially, a life outside the previous confines of their relationship. Just as she felt a spark of courage, Nathan's phone buzzed loudly on the side table, breaking the spell. He glanced down, and the smile faded from his face. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said reluctantly. Emily's heart sank a little as he stepped away. She watched him, wondering who could be calling at such a crucial moment. Part of her wanted to listen in, to assess if it was something serious, but she resisted. She felt the weight of uncertainty closing in again. Was she about to risk cracking open the fragile moment they had just shared? The conversation piqued her curiosity, each word he exchanged just out of earshot feeding her lingering worry. As she looked down at their daughter, all the questions resurfaced. What would Nathan's future involvement look like? Would they share parenting decisions as partners or merely as co-parents? By the time Nathan turned back, she sensed enough urgency in his eyes to know that his mind was elsewhere. "Can we continue this later?" he asked, the tension creeping back into his tone. "Sure," she replied, forcing a smile even as questions formed a knot in her stomach. "Whenever you're ready." But as Nathan turned back to the baby, Emily felt a different kind of fear settling within her. Was their moment of connection just a fleeting illusion? What new surprises, good or bad, lay hidden in their future? The uncertainty hung like an overcast sky above her heart, and as they moved to share the first few moments of their new family life, she wondered if the truth they needed to confront was looming even closer than they knew. Emily cradled the baby, feeling the gentle rhythm of her daughter's breath against her chest. It was intoxicating. Yet her mind raced, tomorrow's colliding with yesterday's. Seeing Nathan engrossed in his phone conversation, she couldn't shake the feeling of being torn between the past and the promise of the future. The pediatrician's upbeat demeanor had faded, replaced now by an unsaid tension between them. It made the air feel thick as she quietly inspected their surroundings. The flowers in a nearby vase drooped slightly, almost mirroring her mood. She wished she could feel joy without the accompanying weight of uncertainty. Nathan returned to her, his expression slightly strained. "Hey, sorry about that. It was work, just some last-minute details to cover before I could get away." He paused, studying her face. "You look worried." "Just taking it all in," she replied, forcing a smile. "It's a big day, after all. Our little miracle is here." The warmth of her daughter might have melted her worries, but the thread of their previous conversation still tugged at her heart, clinging to the remnants of past hurt. Nathan sat beside her, leaning over to gently touch their baby's cheek. I can't help but think how all of this will change us, he murmured. I want to be a good father, Emily, a real father. I want us to figure this out together. Emily's heart fluttered. Did he really just say that? The notion of together felt foreign but welcoming. Still, their past loomed like an old, stubborn shadow. Together, she echoed quietly. But we've never really explored what that means for us, have we? She met his gaze, hoping for clarity. Before he could respond, the moment was abruptly interrupted by another knock on the door. The nurse re-entered, a clipboard clutched against her chest. Sorry to interrupt. We need to discuss some initial tests for the baby, she said cheerfully, but it seemed to slice through the air between them like a knife. Emily felt a stab of anxiety. This was their moment. Couldn't they hold on to it just a little longer? But it was lost now, scattered like the petals of the flowers that bent toward the floor. What do you want her to be called? Nathan asked as they shifted to answer the nurse's questions, and as if the tides changed around them, they both leaned in. Lila, Emily said, a name that had danced in her mind since the pregnancy began. Lila Jane. It's beautiful, he said, and she felt a warmth bloom within her chest. It was a patch of sunlight cutting through the storm clouds, the moment that might hold promise for what was to come. Lila Jane, he repeated, testing the name on his lips. Emily watched as his expression softened, knowing that the name would forever connect them through their shared love for her. The nurse's voice faded into the background as Emily became lost in thought. Each name held such power, yet here they were, still navigating the fragile threads of their relationship amidst the chaos of new parenthood. Would Lila bring them closer or reveal the cracks within their walls? As they agreed to the tests, Nathan moved next to her again, his hand reaching for hers. Emily, I want us to communicate, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's about the hard stuff. We need to be open, for Lila's sake. Tears brimmed her eyes. Was he asking for a new beginning? Did he truly understand the weight of those words? Acceptance was intricate but necessary. She nodded, heart pounding. Yet before she could express her feelings, the door creaked open once more, this time revealing a different face, an elderly doctor, gray hair and kind eyes. I'm Dr. Lewis. I'll be overseeing the baby's care. The room shifted once again, and the energy oscillated between anxious and hopeful. As he reviewed the charts with the nurse, Emily's mind spun with possibility. Would this be a fresh start? Or was the veil lifting only to reveal deeper complications? Before long, the doctor's gaze landed on Nathan. You're her father, right? I hear your name around the hospital often. Emily's heart skipped. Nathan gave a slight nod, a smile desperate but proud. Yes, I am. But with that, a sinking realization hit Emily. If Nathan was known in these walls, did he have connections she wasn't aware of? New questions knocked against her resolve, echoing like the cries of their newborn. What more lay beneath the surface of their lives? As they settled into routine, nestled in a cocoon of their new family, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that old destinies were waiting to be unearthed. And as she caught Nathan's gaze across the room, a whole new storm began to brew, one that promised to uncover layers of their past long hidden beneath the surface. The air felt charged, thick with unspoken words and lingering glances. Emily held her breath, feeling the tension in the room as Dr. Lewis shuffled papers and cleared his throat. She adjusted Lila in her arms, the tiny baby being her only anchor in a sea of uncertainty. Nathan looked at the doctor with a mix of pride and vulnerability. It was a duality that was beginning to confuse her. How could he stand there, bold and strong, when so much remained unspoken between them? Let's get started with the basics, Dr. Lewis said, pulling his stethoscope from around his neck. He approached Lila with a gentle smile, but Emily noticed how Nathan's demeanor changed. His confident stance faltered. He shifted, his eyes darting, his smile tightening at the edges. As the doctor examined Lila, Emily's heart raced. Each tick of the clock drew her further into uncertainty. In those moments, as Lila's little heartbeat resonated in the doctor's ears, Emily felt a rush of fierce protectiveness. What if there were more connections here than she understood? You'll want to keep her close, monitor her every little sneeze, Dr. Lewis advised, looking between the two of them. She'll need all the love and attention you can give. His words hung in the air like a promise. Feeling Nathan's worry roll off him in waves, Emily angled her body toward him. What's wrong? Whatever it was, the weight pressed down on her chest, squeezing the air from her lungs. I want to be there for you too, he admitted quietly, his gaze dropping to the floor. But sometimes I don't know how. Neither do I, she confessed, heart racing. But we have to start somewhere, right? Dr. Lewis cleared his throat again, breaking the moment. Lila will need follow-up appointments, and I can ensure you both receive ample support. Raising a child is a team effort, after all. A team. The word danced between them, fragile yet hopeful. Emily's chest swelled with warmth, but then it dropped. Would they ever truly become that? Old wounds threatened to resurface, and doubt gnawed at the edges of her optimism. A sudden thought clawed at her mind. Nathan, what does it mean that the doctor knows you? What is your connection with him? At the mention of the doctor, Nathan went still. I work with him in a different capacity. His voice was low. Emily's pulse quickened as she recalled whispers of Nathan's past. You've never shared about this part of your life with me. Her tone sharpened, eager yet holding back an avalanche of feelings. Nathan frowned. Let me explain, it's complicated. The strangeness in his voice made her uneasy. She wanted to push, to dig deeper into the unknown, but the vulnerability in those words halted her. Dr. Lewis continued with measurements, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Emily and Nathan exchanged wary glances. Between the two of them lay a chasm of history neither could quite bridge. Tell me, she insisted, pulling him back into her focus. What's the truth? Before he could reply, the door swung open, and another nurse entered. Excuse me for interrupting, Dr. Lewis, but we need to discuss the results of the preliminary tests. The word struck Emily like a physical blow. Why were they discussing tests? Anxiety gripped her as they shared hurried whispers. She clutched Lila tighter, protectively. Nathan's expression shifted, the tension thickening again. We should ask them questions, he said, but there was a tremor in his voice. Emily realized it wasn't just her past that was catching up to them, it was the imminent reality of their future laced with uncertainties, health matters, and a future they had not yet defined. As the nurse and doctor exited, she turned to Nathan. Whatever it is, we need to face it. Together, remember? He nodded, but the look on his face suggested he had more to reveal, more layered secrets that could either bond them together or push them further apart. The weight of the moment sank heavily in Emily's chest. What if uncovering Nathan's truths changed everything? What lay behind the next door that opened, and how would it shape the family they were becoming? Emily's heart thudded against her ribcage as she watched Nathan's eyes glaze over with apprehension. There was something about the way he stood there, a weight on his shoulders that threatened to anchor them both in an ocean of doubt. The seconds turned into a heavy silence, the kind that stretched too thin, taut and ready to snap. She felt the vulnerability in him, the fear of not living up to whatever unspoken expectations lay within these walls. Nathan? She said softly, convincing herself to breathe in this moment, to peel back the layers of his guarded exterior. What are you so afraid of? He hesitated, eyes darting as if to gather the right words. It's not just about you and Lila, it's complicated, he finally said, just above a whisper. Her stomach turned. Complicated how? We're supposed to be figuring this out together. The door swung ajar, interrupting them again, and in walked Dr. Lewis and the nurse. The moment slipped away, replaced by fresh tension as they resumed their earlier exchanges, discussing medical jargon and charts that meant little to Emily but spoke volumes of her daughter's health and future. Let us discuss the results, Dr. Lewis began, his voice steady. There are a few concerns from her initial screening. Lila shifted in Emily's arms, sensing the atmosphere of uncertainty. She leaned closer, hoping to shield her baby from what felt like a storm brewing. What kind of concerns? Emily's voice sharpened, and she could feel her own fear bubbling to the surface. The doctor looked at her with a practiced calmness, but Emily could hear the faint tremor behind his words. Nothing immediate to panic over, but I think it would be wise to have a more detailed evaluation. It's standard, really, but I wanted you both to be aware. Standard? Nathan echoed with a newfound edge in his voice, the strength he'd momentarily lost returning. What do you mean by that? Dr. Lewis took a breath, then continued, there are indicators that may require some follow-up tests. They can be routine for newborns, so I don't want you to worry. It's just precautionary. Emily's heart sank. It wasn't just concern for Lila, it was the implication that they were all facing struggles ahead. How tightly pressure could squeeze them, how close they were to losing the fragile hope they had built. Can we talk privately? Nathan's words cut through the pandemonium in her mind. It was a rare command from him, and Dr. Lewis nodded, motioning to the nurse to step out first. As the door clicked shut behind them, the sound felt jarring, like a lock sealing off the outside world. Emily looked at Nathan. His expression flickered through a range of emotions, none of them providing the answers she desperately sought. What is it you're not telling me? She asked directly, emboldened by the protection of Lila in her arms. Nobody tells you that being a parent means standing on rocks you can't see beneath, he said, anguish burning in his eyes. I wanted to keep you away from my past and my choices. I thought I could protect you from it all. But it's already here, she shot back, the frustration pouring out. You included me in this life. You need to share, Nathan. I can't be in the dark. He breathed heavily, unable to find the response. Emily could feel the disparity between them widen, like fissures in their bond, threatening to crack everything they hoped to build for Lila, and then, amidst the chaos of their conversation, a sense of foreboding edged around Emily. What if what he was keeping from her was not just a piece of information but the very foundation of what could make or break them all? Just then, the door swung open again, and in stepped Dr. Lewis. Emily, Nathan, I need to share some vital information regarding Lila's results that I believe you both need to know. An icy chill slipped down her spine. What was coming next? The future lay suspended, a fragile balance of fear and potential on the brink of revelation. As she glanced from the doctor to Nathan, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change in ways she could never expect. Dr. Lewis stepped forward, his expression serious yet shaded with compassion. I know this is overwhelming, he began, his tone softer now, but I need you both to understand the implications of Lila's results. Emily felt the air grow thicker, the weight of the moment descending like a heavy curtain. What is it? She managed to ask, her voice trembling. We found some anomalies in the screening, he said, choosing his words with care. They're early indicators of potential health issues. He glanced at Nathan, perhaps gauging how to break the news to them both without igniting their fears even further. I must emphasize that further tests are essential, but I don't want you to presume the worst. Health issues? Nathan echoed, his voice a mixture of disbelief and anger, as if daring the world to suggest that his daughter could be anything less than perfect. What kind of health issues? Genetic markers that may suggest developmental concerns, Dr. Lewis replied, maintaining eye contact with both of them. This isn't a definitive diagnosis, just the first step in a comprehensive evaluation. Emily felt her chest constrict. Thoughts raced through her mind, spiraling into a whirlwind of what-ifs. But she's just a baby. Shouldn't she be free from this type of worry? It's not fair. Her eyes burned with the sting of tears threatening to spill over, but she held them back. Nathan, meanwhile, stood rigid beside her. The unyielding facade began to fracture as the doctor spoke. I won't lie, we have a rough road ahead. The testing process can be lengthy, not to mention emotionally draining, Dr. Lewis explained. But I want you to know that there are resources available. You aren't alone in this. Lila stirred, sensing the tension flooding the room. Emily cradled her tighter, whispering soothing words, even as her heart cracked with fear. This is supposed to be a time of joy, she said, her voice catching, not dread. Nathan turned to Emily, his brow furrowed. We'll get through this, he said, but the uncertainty of his own emotions hung in the air. Are you sure? Emily asked, seeking reassurance. Were they really strong enough to navigate this storm together? Images of Lila's tiny face filled her mind, pure and innocent, and the thought of facing a future laden with uncertainty felt unbearable. Dr. Lewis shifted, moving his gaze between them. If you decide to proceed with the tests, I can arrange for an expedited process. However, it's up to both of you to decide how to tackle this. Emily felt the pressure of expectation return, stifling her resolve. How could she lean on Nathan when he seemed so wrapped up in his own past? I need you, Nathan. I need you more than ever. But if you can't open up, how are we supposed to face what's coming? Silence hung between them like an open wound, raw and aching. Nathan looked down, his emotions flaring as he wrestled with his thoughts. Emily, this is harder than I thought, he admitted, his voice laced with guilt. Harder than what? She pressed, frustration bubbling. Harder than being a parent? Or harder than facing your past? Because if you don't share that with me, I'm left in the dark. The tension deepened, forming an unbridgeable chasm. Emily watched as Nathan wrestled not only with the moment but his own secret. And then, she saw a flicker of resolve igniting in his gaze. Fine, he said, his voice steadying. But first, we need to know what we're really up against. As he spoke, a sense of determination swept through her. Maybe sharing was the key. But would the truth bring them together, or would it be the thing that finally tore them apart? Let us get the tests done, Emily agreed. Whatever comes, we'll face it. Together. For the first time, she sensed an undercurrent of shared purpose, ready to combat the chaos ahead. But in the back of her mind, a new dread settled. What if the truth revealed something neither of them was prepared to handle? And as if reading her thoughts, Nathan took a step closer, whispering, "There is something I need to tell you, something that could change everything." Behind them, the door swung slightly, a sharp reminder that they couldn't hide from whatever awaited them outside. The world had commanded their attention. The question was now, were they ready to listen? The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Emily's heartbeat raced in response to Nathan's urgent whisper. His eyes bore into hers, filled with an intensity she hadn't seen before. She gulped, the uncertainty hanging like a thick fog around them. What is it? She urged quietly, half afraid of the answer. Taking a deep breath, Nathan glanced at the door, then back at her. I haven't been completely honest with you about my past, about why I'm really here. His voice trembled just a little, and Emily felt that familiar pang of dread twine through her stomach again. Now? Is this really the time? Emily couldn't help the rise of frustration in her tone. We have enough to deal with right now. Please. Just hear me out, Nathan said, his face softening. She could see the struggle etched in his features, like he was holding back an avalanche behind a flimsy dam. Okay, she finally relented. But this better be important. Nathan looked down at Lila, then met Emily's gaze again, as if searching for strength. I was married before, and I have a daughter. She's almost the same age as Lila. Emily felt as though she'd been punched in the gut. The world swayed slightly, and she grabbed the edge of the table for support. You have a daughter? He nodded solemnly, his posture releasing the weight of 1,000 burdens. That's why I didn't want to get too close. I didn't want to repeat the past. The revelation hit her like a cold wave. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, struggling to contain the storm of emotions roiling within her. I thought I could handle it on my own. I thought that if I kept my distance, it would protect you and Lila. A bitter laugh escaped her lips, joining the tension that sparked in the air. You think hiding the truth was protecting us? Look at where we are, Nathan. We're standing in a doctor's office, about to find out if our baby has serious health issues, and you thought keeping secrets was the right move? Silence settled thickly, punctuated only by the faint beeping of machines in the background. I'm sorry. I really am, Nathan said, anguish wrapping around every syllable. I just didn't want to burden you with my past when we were trying to build something together. Emily felt a flicker of sympathy battling against her anger. She could almost see the cracks in Nathan's carefully constructed facade. What about your daughter? Does she know? The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Nathan's gaze dropped to the floor. Not yet. I've been trying to figure out how to explain things to anyone. I didn't want more chaos. Chaos? She echoed, her voice rising again. This isn't chaos. This is life. Real life. The kind that comes with ups and downs, love and loss. You can't just switch it on and off like that. He ran a hand through his hair, battling with the uncertainty swirling in his mind. I know. I'm realizing that now. But what if unveiling my past creates a rift one we might not recover from? I don't have the luxury to worry about that right now, Emily shot back. What we need is to focus on Lila and the tests. We'll deal with everything else later. Biting back tears, she shifted Lila in her arms, her heart aching for the little girl who seemed blissfully unaware of the tempest brewing around her. Then let us figure out how to be a family, Nathan declared, a surprising shift of resolve sparking in him. For Lila's sake, we'll face this together. Emily searched his face for sincerity, for clarity. Could they really navigate this newfound truth and the potential storm still to come? And more importantly, would there be enough strength left over to shield Lila from it all? As Lila stirred again, a soft coo escaping her lips, Emily felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could rebuild, reshape the fragments of their lives into something whole. But just as a sliver of light breached the dark clouds threatening their horizon, Nathan grasped her hand, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily, when I found out Lila was born, I swore I'd be a better father, but what if I've already failed? The weight of that question loomed heavily, tethering them both to the moment. They were poised on the edge of a cliff, gripping tightly to each other. And somewhere in that swirling mess of emotion, Emily wondered, could they really emerge from this stronger, united, or would the uncovering of Nathan's past threaten to shatter whatever they had left? As the door creaked open, revealing Dr. Lewis again, that moment of truth loomed larger than ever. Dr. Lewis stepped into the room, clipboard in hand, the familiar authority in his stride tempered by a warm smile. His eyes flicked between Nathan and Emily, noting the tension hanging thick like a fog in the cramped space. Sorry to interrupt, he said, his voice smooth as he pulled up a chair. I wanted to give you both an update about Lila. Emily shot Nathan a quick glance, her chest tightening again at the thought of their daughter's health. Nathan remained silent, an unreadable expression on his face, and Emily felt her pulse quicken with anxiety. What is going on? She asked, her voice barely a whisper, laden with dread. Doctor Lewis cleared his throat. Lila's tests came back inconclusive. We need to run a few more. It's protocol, but he paused for a heartbeat, his gaze softening. I want you to know that we're taking this very seriously, and we'll do everything we can to ensure she's okay. A flood of relief washed over Emily, but only slightly. What does that mean? She pressed, needing clarity. Nathan's fingers intertwined with hers, a silent support. It means there are no immediate concerns, but we want to be thorough, Dr. Lewis replied, letting the words slowly settle. I understand how difficult this is for you both. The waiting is often the hardest part. Emily nodded, her eyes stinging with unspilled tears. She turned to Nathan, whose grip tightened on her hand. Everything in her wanted to yell, to scream at the unfairness of it all. Yet here he was, willing to face this along with her, both battling their own demons while trying to protect their little girl. Can we stay with her? Nathan asked, his voice steady and strong. I want to be here for her. She shouldn't have to be alone. And she won't be, Dr. Lewis assured, a hint of admiration in his eyes. Family is what matters most in moments like this. A warmth ignited within Emily, but it was shadowed, the weight of Nathan's revelations lingered. Could they truly be a family, with all their messy history unraveling around them? She glanced again at Nathan, noting the earnest lines of his face. He was still a father to another child somewhere, still wrapped up in past regrets that seemed to cling to him like a cloak. As Lila stirred once more, a tiny whimper escaping her lips, Emily's heart broke a little. Whatever Nathan's past was, it was real and heavy, weighing down their present. But Lila was here, in this room, breathing softly against Emily's chest. That was what mattered right now. "Let us just focus on Lila," Emily whispered, looking back up at Nathan, her resolve strengthened. "We'll figure the rest out together." Gazing at her with a mix of gratitude and understanding, Nathan offered a small smile. Together. Their unity felt fragile but necessary. With a newfound determination, they turned their attention back to Lila, ready to face whatever came next, but beneath the surface, doubt still churned within Emily. She couldn't ignore it forever. Would Nathan's battle with the past haunt them? Would his daughter find her way into their lives, and would that connection deepen or further complicate their fragile family? Just as she was filled with questions, the mood shifted again. The door swung open, and in walked a nurse with eyes trained on the clipboard in hand. "We're ready for Lila now. If you can follow me." Emily felt her breath catch. This was it. The moment of truth for their little girl, but also for their future. They stood at a crossroads, ready to take the plunge. As they rose together, Emily couldn't help but wonder what doors would open and what shadows they might have to confront next. Emily held her breath as the nurse guided them into the small sterile room, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken fears and lingering hopes. Lila lay peacefully in her arms, blissfully unaware of the turmoil swirling just beneath the surface. This was the moment they had both dreaded and anticipated, a bellwether for their new family dynamic, fraught yet filled with possibility. "You both can stay with her throughout the tests," the nurse said, her voice soothing. Emily felt Nathan shift closer, their fingers brushing as if to create an unbreakable link. Here they were, united not just as parents but as two souls emerging from the wreckage of their past. They settled in the small room, the fluorescent lights casting a clinical glow. Emily glanced at Nathan, assessing the storm of emotions etched on his face. Regret, fear, and hope danced behind his eyes, tugging at her heartstrings. "It's going to be okay, right?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. It was less of a question and more of a plea. Nathan nodded, but the uncertainty lingered. "What if?" "Stop." She interrupted firmly, meeting his gaze with a brightness that surprised even her. "Whatever happens, we face it together. Just like we said." He swallowed hard, a silent agreement hanging between them. The door opened again, and Dr. Lewis stepped in. "Ready?" he asked, his demeanor professional yet warm. Emily wrapped Lila tighter, a protective embrace that held more than just her child. "We're ready," she replied, her voice steady. "Doctor." Lewis gestured for the nurse, who began preparing the equipment. The moment stretched on. Emily found herself lost in the rhythm of Lila's tiny breaths, letting the warmth wash over her with every sigh. With each minute that passed, Emily felt the walls around her heart begin to crack, letting in a sprinkle of hope that had long been dormant. She could see a glimmer in Nathan's eyes too, a recognition of the family they could truly become. As Lila squirmed in her arms, a tiny sigh escaping her lips, Emily felt a surge of clarity. When the nurse finally approached them with equipment in hand, she turned to Emily and Nathan, her tone gentle yet straightforward. "Let's start by just checking some vitals and getting a few baseline measurements, okay?" As the nurse placed the sensors on Lila's small frame, Emily could feel Nathan tense beside her. "Just breathe," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "We've got this." Lila opened her eyes momentarily, a small smile breaking across her face as they locked eyes. In that moment, everything became bright again. Heaving a sigh of relief, she saw Nathan's expression soften, a well of hope radiating from him that pushed away the darkness. Maybe they had the potential to create a beautiful family together. Doctor Lewis observed the readings, his brow furrowing with concentration but then relaxing again as he turned toward them. "Everything looks stable. We'll continue monitoring her, and I'll be here to update you throughout." "Thank you," Emily said, her voice filled with gratitude. "But I must remind you," Dr. Lewis continued, a note of seriousness slipping back into his voice, "we'll need to wait for the test results. This is just a preliminary check." The weight of uncertainty returned. Emily felt the sharp edges of fear nip at her insides again, but Nathan's hand in hers acted as an anchor against the overwhelming tide. "We can handle this," she whispered, her determination swelling with each heartbeat. What if her health issues are something severe? Nathan murmured, doubt creeping back into his tone. Then we take each day as it comes, she replied with a steadiness that surprised her. We're in this together now. You and me. Let us not allow our past to cloud our present. In the silence that followed, Emily sensed them both leaning in towards the possibility of a meaningful truth, the thread of family beginning to weave through the gaps of their shared histories. She could see it, a life filled with laughter and warmth, one where Lila would be the bridge between their shattered pasts. Suddenly, Lila made a tiny grasping motion with her hand, fingers curling around Emily's in what felt like a silent assurance. Everything about the future felt uncertain, but this was clear. Love was the steady force, ready to build a foundation resilient enough to endure the storms ahead. When the nurse returned with the results in her hands, Emily prepared herself anew, standing shoulder to shoulder with Nathan. Whatever it says, she breathed, we'll overcome it together. Nathan squeezed her hand tighter, a silent vow exchanged. Your daughter shows some signs that we will monitor closely, but the early indications point toward possible minor health issues that may resolve on their own, the nurse said, her voice clear. Emily felt a flood of emotion wash over her, relief and anxiety battling in a whirlwind of feelings. It wasn't the devastating news she had feared, but a reminder that parenting came with its own set of wild uncertainties. And if they don't resolve? Nathan's voice wavered, a reflection of the rawness of their journey together. Doctor Lewis stepped in with gentle authority, we'll work together. Building connections with specialists, getting support for both of you, and creating the strongest environment possible for Lila's growth. You won't be alone in this. In that moment, Emily felt a shift within her. Hope began to replace fear, like the first rays of dawn breaking over a dark horizon. They would find their way forward, navigating this as a united front. They could embrace their pasts, growing not despite them but because of them. As Nathan placed a soft kiss on Lila's forehead, she could see determination in his eyes too. He was ready to step up, ready to be the father he'd always wanted to be. Whatever it takes, Lila, he whispered, his voice full of emotion. We'll make it work. Your mom and I are here for you. Always. Emily smiled through her tears, feeling the drained but growing connection with Nathan. She believed in them now, in their ability to not just endure but thrive. Together, they would create a future filled with love, laughter, and the resilience they'd built on the foundations of hope. As they embraced their daughter, held tight in their arms, she knew their path would be winding, yet they would walk it hand in hand, forever changed, and forever family. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you even more. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions.